at 7 p.m. I will call to order this meeting of the Select Board for the Town of Bolton. And the first item on our agenda is to open a public hearing. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to open a public hearing on the petition of National Grid to install one solely owned pole on South Bolton Road, beginning at a point approximately 0 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Spectacle Hill Road, and then continuing approximately 300 feet in a west direction, and install one solely owned pole number 65-84, approximately 300 feet west of the intersection of Spectacle Hill Road. This pole location is a new location and directly across from the existing pole number 65 South Bolton Road in the town of Bolton, adjacent to and west of 5 Spectacle Hill Road. And I believe that we have a representative from National Grid here, Mr. Colton Marsh, to speak about this pole request.
Mr. Chair, before we begin, if I may, after consultation with the Ethics Commission attorney, I have to recuse myself from this because I am a direct abutter of the proposed pole location and of the objector, Leroy Millett.
Okay, thank you. Just when we do end up taking roll call, you can articulate that you've abstained. Thank you.
All right, can you hear me yet?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, so this pole is actually it's a solely owned pole, so that means National Grid's only on it, and its only function is to replace what is right now a cable. It's called the guy that's running across the street, and it's currently tied to a tree. So we're replacing the actual pole. This is what's called a stub guy. So we're going to just put this pole in, and its sole purpose is to support the load of a pole that's across the street. So currently it's tied off to a tree. We don't do that anymore. And anytime we have the opportunity to get rid of those, we try to do that. So that's what this new pole is.
Okay. I see that Mark Case is here.
Yep.
How are you doing? Oh, I don't know if I froze or if Mr. Case froze. Well, I was just going to ask if you had an opportunity to review and had any comments.
The computer just froze for a few moments there. So this is obviously we're carrying on from the May 30th meeting when they didn't have the poll numbers correct. I talked with Mr. Morales numerous times about getting a stake out there so we can approve this. And as of today at 4:30, it still wasn't staked. I understand the principle behind this is, to remove that guy wire from the tree, but it makes a big difference if it's going to the right side of the tree or the left side of the tree. It makes a big difference how far down the bank is it going to go, because it's going to create an issue with snow removal and narrowing the roadway up. So I would urge the board not to approve this until we actually have a staked location.
Okay, thank you for that input. Any other comments or questions from members of the board?
Other than I concur with Mark Case, if this is not staked yet, then we should have it staked, and perhaps we should continue the hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to help facilitate things, Stan used an important word there. I would encourage you to continue the meeting, the hearing. Otherwise, this would have to be reposted all over again. But you could continue it to a date certain, because your next meeting is already scheduled for July 11th.
Great. Thank you for that procedural point. Are there any comments or questions from the public at this time? Yeah, Mr. Millett.
I am Leroy Millet, 45 Wheeler Road. Based on the description that was submitted, the diagram, it looks like the new pole is intended to be located directly on our property. We have several concerns with that. We would like to object to it being placed there for multiple reasons. So I don't know if you want me to list those in order, or if we go one by one, and hopefully the board's willing to hear me out on those issues.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up. I think, though, given the fact that we don't have a stake that really identifies exactly where we're talking about, I don't know if that would affect any of the pieces of input that you wanted to offer, and it might just make sense to provide that input after the stake has been identified and marked.
But potentially, but based on the diagram, it's intended to be located on our property. And we do have issues with that, so I don't know if we do wait for the stake or if you prefer.
Sure, you can just briefly summarize what your concerns are right now.
The biggest one being, we're on Wheeler Road, which is a dead end, and all of our 5 lots that are on our driveway, we share a common driveway and our houses are accessed by that. It's each house is accessed through easements, and it's an agreement. So the lots were intentionally created to have frontage all the way back over to South Bolton Road. And we have these narrow skinny lots that wind over there with the intent of, if there was ever an issue with that easement or something malfunctioned, that we would have possible frontage over to South Bolton Road. And some of my concerns are installing poles, guy wires, things like that there are gonna limit the potential use of that and just potentially restrict our property in the future. That's one of the issues, is putting equipment there, guy wires, what it's going to look like, cutting trees, things like that. And then it's a very narrow piece of land that we have there. It's the only high and dry area of land located on that entire side of the road. There's wetlands surrounding it everywhere. So it's in our interest to kind of protect the use of that, I would say, and not cut old growth trees there unnecessarily, disturb the land. And then I think another big issue is that pole would be, I thought it was being moved entirely to that side of the road, but installing anything there is going to put it within the Conservation Commission's, buffer zone, or even that kind of no disturb zone of at least 25, definitely within the 100-foot zone. So if it was possible to be avoided, we would obviously appreciate, finding an alternate location for it.
Okay.
If I may, I just want to point out the fact that these poles are usually established. Very rarely are they established on private property. They're always within the town right away. So his property, I mean, it does go up to South Bolton Road, but it doesn't go all the way up to the edge of the pavement of South Bolton Road. There's still town taking on that side of the road. The main intent of this was to remove the guy wire from the tree. My concern is, like I mentioned earlier, just how far down the bank. National Grid files all the paperwork needed with the conservation commissions. They deal with poles close to wetlands or even in wetlands all the time. So that wouldn't bother me as much. But like I said, it's also going to be on lot. It looks like it's going to be on lot 45, which looks in the diagram one of the wider lots, not one of the narrower lots.
Yeah, 45 is our lot.
There's 2 45s on this.
Yeah, that's
I'm looking at, and it's the wider lot.
It's the wider lot. The narrower one to the north side is 45A. That's our neighbors.
Yep.
It shows up mistakenly throughout the town in different places as 2 number 45s instead of 45 and 45A. We've tried to work to correct this and had some issues with that. So.
I understand your concerns and what you had mentioned. Also, remember that's a very steep slope right there. So I don't know how much accessibility it's going to impact on your property at all. But I
agree.
Like I said, the poles are always, I shouldn't say always, because they get variances, but they tend to fall within the majority of them fall within the public right of way.
Yeah, correct. And that's why we're here today, is because it is in the public right of way.
Mr. Marshall, if we continue the hearing to July 11th, will you be able to provide a stake as Mr. Case has requested?
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't aware that one wasn't posted yet. So yeah, I would absolutely make sure that that was done.
Okay. Well, if there are no further comments, I think I'm inclined at this time to entertain a motion to continue the hearing to Thursday, July 11th.
So moved.
And I will second it, and I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Wysocki,
Yes.
Kate Bayuk,
Abstain.
and I'm a yes as well.
Mr. Chairman, would you please, I had problems unmuting myself, which is unusual for me. You might want to amend that just to note the time certain also of 7 p.m.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that. Yeah, so we'll continue the hearing to 7 p.m. on Thursday, July 11th. And again, just roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Abstain.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Mr. Case, for your input.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Okay, next up on our agenda, we have a request from Tie Rods to place 5 24-inch by 24-inch temporary show signs on ground stakes along roadways in Bolton from August 30th through September 9th, 2024. And this is for the Old Timers Reunion event on September 8th, 2024. Do we have somebody from Tie Rods who can speak to this request?
Yes, hello, this is Mike Listella. I'm the representative of Tie Rods, and with me is Mark Keenan, actually our ex-president, and he also is the one that ends up doing the work along with some assistants. So I'm the paper guy. Good evening.
Good evening. So, I know that this is an event that you guys have annually, and I believe we have approved similar show signs in the past. Is that right?
That is
That's
correct.
correct. Yes.
One question is that I see that there's a request for 5 signs. Is that also the number of signs you've requested in the past?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Any questions from any members of the select board?
No, not for me. These gentlemen have been doing this for quite a number of years. I'm perfectly fine with it.
No questions from me.
Okay, and then Jenny, please jump in if I've gotten this incorrect, but I believe we also did get a written comment from our building inspector that this request is within the bounds of our sign bylaw. Great. Okay, well, with that, I would entertain a motion to approve this request from Tie Rods for the 5 24-inch by 24-inch temporary show signs.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from Tie Rods to place 5 24 by 24 temporary sign shows on ground stakes along roadways in Bolton from August 30th until September 9th, 2024 for the Old Timers Reunion event on September 8th, 2024.
Second.
Okay, great. Roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thanks, gentlemen, for coming, and good luck with the event.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give us good weather.
One can
Thank
only.
you.
Okay, next on our agenda, we were going to continue the discussion on the request from Bolton Youth Soccer Association regarding the placement of a shed at the Forbush Fields to be used as a snack shack. I don't know if we have Ms. McBreen here yet. Jenny, do you see her in the waiting room?
So at the last meeting, I believe the
Oh.
board told her she did not need to attend. I have spoken with her today and she said if anything, if you need any questions, I could reach out to her and extend an invitation and she's happy to join.
That's right. Thanks for reminding me. Well, in our packets, I know that we had gotten some feedback from our DPW director, Mr. Heglin, because we had asked Ms. McBreen to consult with him. Any comments or questions from members of the board?
No, I'm fine with it. I mean, Randy seems to be okay with it. He had a couple of comments about positioning, but I'm in general fine with the snack shack being at the soccer fields in Fort Bush.
I guess I was a little bit more confused looking at the aerial photograph that was supplied in the packet. Because to me, I thought that it was supposed to be even closer to the road than what's on where this yellow rectangle is.
So that picture actually came from Mr. Heglin and not from the applicant.
Okay, so am I correct that it would be further up? I mean, as I look at that photograph, it would be further up on the page toward Fort Bush. It wouldn't. I think that yellow rectangle, as I'm looking at it, might be where the handicap space is, if I'm looking at it correctly.
I believe they spoke about relocating the handicap parking space. So I think the location that they were proposing encompassed at least a portion of the existing handicap parking space.
But I believe, Kate, you're correct that that the proposed location of the snack shack was further north towards Fort Bush Mill Road.
Let me show that picture. And I'm happy to extend an invitation to Rebecca McBreen to clarify this if you'd like to take the next agenda item and give her a few minutes to join.
Well, I can say like my view of this is, you know, there seems to be good communication with the Department of Public Works, and I'm sure that when the actual placement of the shack is made, it'll be sort of confirmed with Randy that it's in an appropriate location. So I don't necessarily feel the need to have Ms. McBreen join the call. But I agree that my memory was that that little yellow box would be a little bit further up.
Yeah, I believe that there was a photograph last time of a food truck parked off to the side, and that was the approximate location of where the snack shack would be.
I agree. That's my memory as well.
Yeah, and as long as that's the case, I think that protects it nicely from the parking lot, which was one of the big concerns.
Yeah.
I do have an email from Becca McBreen today that after she reviewed the comments from Mr. Heglin, she said she already got the ball rolling for the fencing, which is going to require a variance to place there. That's pretty much the gist.
So to Brian's point, I mean, she's already coordinating with Mr. Heglin, so I'm sure they can work out the location.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Jenny, just to clarify, is there anything that we need to do right now with respect to the variance, or that'll come later in the process?
I don't think that the select board, well, actually, if the fencing is not approved at this meeting, she would need to come back to the select board for approval for the fencing. Correct, Don?
Yes, I mean, you can approve the fencing and then she could still seek the required variance, because I don't believe it's the select board that issues the variance.
Okay.
No, it's a ZBA, but
Right.
I'm sorry, she said, I'm reading this wrong. She says, that's great news. Seems like Mr. Hegland is on board, like all of us, and want to put it in that fenced in area.
Okay. Okay, I understand. Well, I would then entertain a motion to approve, to approve the request from Bolton Youth Soccer Association to place a shed at Forbush Fields to be used as a snack shack. I guess I would just say, assuming of course that there continues to be communication and coordination with our DPW as that work is carried out.
I will second that.
Okay, roll call. Kate,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes also. All right, thanks, Jenny, for sharing your screen. All right, next on our agenda, we are going to have a transfer station discussion, and specifically the issue of transfer station bags for seniors defined as age 61 plus for fiscal year 25, and then a discussion about eligibility requirements to receive benefits. Dawn or Jenny, I saw that we had some materials in our packet about this, but I don't know if somebody from DPW wanted to lead the discussion or tee up the issues, or whether one of you would be doing that.
I was not anticipating Randy being here tonight. Jenny,
Okay.
was he asked to attend? I don't think we did.
He was not.
No, I didn't think so. Well, the first bullet is fairly pro forma. It's you every year set the price for previously stickers and now bags for seniors, age 61 and over. We haven't done a price change in years, so that one normally is pretty straightforward. The second bullet, we've got some discussion and some detail for you, and I think for that one, Jenny probably can explain it better than I can.
Okay, so can we take the issue of the pricing first and deal with that? I just wanted to make sure that I understand what the actual benefit is. It says the board votes to issue transfer station bags and then $100 per year. Is that $100 worth of bags per year?
Yes.
Yes, that is $100 of bags based on the current price of both green and orange bags. And seniors can get whatever combination of green and orange, as long as it totals 100. The one thing that was always there, but it is not in this description. It was head of household. It was head of household for a resident. So if there were two, husband and wife that were 61 years or older, that didn't mean they each got $100 worth of bags. It was head of household. It always has been head of household.
Well, not necessarily head of household, but one per household.
Or one
we-
per household. That's fine.
Okay. Well, I did want to just state for the record that I received some correspondence about this from a resident. I think maybe other members of the select board did as well, and it was just expressing a desire that this program be renewed. Did others receive similar correspondence?
I did, yeah.
Yes, but we have always renewed this every year, so I don't think we're in danger of not renewing this.
Yeah.
At least
Okay.
not from my perspective.
I think any benefit that we can provide to our seniors in these current economic times is probably very beneficial.
Great. So
how
how,
many-
sorry, go
how
ahead.
How many bags does this translate to for an average household?
It depends on
it's-
what you pick.
Yeah, it's 8 rolls or 40 bags of the larger and 16 rolls or 80 bags of the smaller, or any combination of those that adds up to $100.
Okay. Well, then, I would entertain a motion to,
Why don't we have the full discussion and then do our motions? There's more to this than just voting to do this. And I think we need to hear from Jenny on some situations where residents are claiming that they quote unquote are entitled to the bags.
okay,
Well, I was just seeking some clarity, so that our office is aligned with the wishes of the select board when we're making decisions, that are different than just checking the list of qualified residents. We typically get a list from the town clerk's office, and I spoke with Jennifer Marquis about where that data actually comes from. And she explained that it's a list of residents who turned 61 or greater during the fiscal year. And the data comes from voters who register to vote, that will land their name on the list. And for residents who are not registered to vote or choose not to be registered to vote, they can fill out a local census, which is different than the federal census. Just lets our town clerk's office know that someone is living in the town. And it really helps our offices to know who's living in the town. There are people who live in the town only for part of the year, temporary residents. There's no risk to them to fill out the local census and write clearly on it that they're a resident for only, September through June or whatever the case may be. But we do have at least one resident that I'm aware of that doesn't wish to complete the census, does not appear on our list, does not have a driver's license that lists that they live in the town. So it's very difficult to make a determination whether or not they first are residents of the town and second, whether they would be qualified for the bags. And I don't feel comfortable making that decision.
okay. And then there's also the issue of property owners who lease their homes. Do you want to just explain that question?
Yes, let's see if I could get back to my thought process when I wrote this. Yeah, so if the resident living in the home doesn't qualify for the bags, is the property owner who does not appear on the resident list because they're not a resident of Bolton, are they eligible? They do pay taxes in the town. And if the residents renting from them don't qualify, would they be able to qualify for the benefit and collect the bags?
Okay, I think I want to just open this up to discussion and further questions from the select board on these questions.
I mean, my thought is the intention of it is to benefit people who are residing in the town who are over the age of 61. It's not to provide free bags because somebody owns property but is not making trash and disposing of it in Bolton and is just gifting them to tenants. So I would think it would have to be whoever's occupying the residence should have to meet the criteria. Otherwise, we're just giving away free bags just to people who are under 61, basically.
Yep.
Well, even if they're over 61, they're not paying taxes in the town. And you can look at either they're a property owner or they are registered to vote and a property owner and paying taxes. I think the concern is people who own homes but don't live here, and someone who is a tenant, to your point, Kate, or someone who might have an accessory apartment where the people living in the accessory apartment are not paying taxes, but they might be over 61. but the owner of the property is not. You know, and I think the intent is that the benefit is going to people who are residents of the town of Bolton, who are primarily paying taxes. And we're trying to give them a benefit to help them a little bit, but not, you know, people who are just apartment dwellers, or because this is also going to come up with 580 Main, where those people are not paying taxes, or will not be paying taxes when that complex is built. In my opinion, that they are not. They're getting sanitation services from the apartment complex owner, and all we're doing is providing, you know, nice 15 and 33 gallon bags for them to use for some other purpose.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm understanding something. So Jenny, please chime in if I've got any of this wrong. So right now, the eligibility process is that we have to have some form that has certified that they are turning 61 plus during the fiscal year. We give folks the option to complete a local census, but if you're a resident who's 61 plus, you actually don't need to be a property owner or a taxpayer to qualify for the benefit, correct?
That's correct.
That's our current policy.
And can I just add to that, I would need to think about it and maybe speak to some other departments here. If the board were to change the policy where the residents that were eligible for the benefit needed to be taxpayers, right now we don't have a process where we cross-check the owner of record of properties, and that would be laborious.
Yeah. And then another concern, just quite frankly, that I would have about that is I know that, you know, a strategy that seniors often use as they're aging is they may put their property in the name of, you know, either a trust or another family member for financial reasons. But even if they're still residing here, and the bags, that financial relief might be meaningful to them. So I wouldn't necessarily be in favor of tying eligibility to formal property ownership personally.
I do think, though, it would be a concern for 580 Main. I don't think we want to be giving away $100 worth of trash bags for people who do already have their sanitation services provided by their landlord. So it seems like that is something we should address.
If it were limited to 580 Main Street, that's something I could communicate with the town clerk's office when they're generating the benefit eligibility list to exclude that property. I think that would be a light lift.
It gets a little heavier than that because we've got a condominium complex such as I'm sorry, I'm drawing the blank on the one on Main Street.
Craftsman's Village or the condominiums, however, the units are owned by the residents. So it's a little bit different.
But there's no trash, well, okay. Okay, if that's a distinction. I just want to make sure that you're not painting yourself into a corner that 580 Main Street is the only, and maybe it is. Maybe it is.
No, the on Main Street, Pondview.
Pondview is the one I was trying to think of.
Yes, I mean those folks own their property.
That's right. They do.
It's not a rental situation. They own those properties. It's basically they're attached homes.
That's right.
Okay. So working backwards, I just want to make sure I understand what the pleasure of the board is. It sounds like we probably all agree that if you're a seasonal resident and you're not a registered voter and you are refusing to complete a local census form that would show that you're age eligible for the benefit, that you should not get the benefit, that you should at least have to complete a local census to demonstrate that you're age eligible for the benefit. Do we all agree on that?
I would say yes. If we need to agree on something tonight, that should be at least the one thing. There may be other things that we may need to have another meeting and discussion about.
No, I do agree with that. I think that this is a benefit we are offering and we get to set the terms of how people qualify for that.
Right.
Okay, so then Jenny, with respect to that clarifying question number one, we all agree that no, you're not eligible for the benefit if you refuse to complete a local census form.
Thank you. I think that's going to help this office communicate to the public.
And then with respect to clarifying question two about whether property owners who lease their homes to tenants who don't qualify on the basis of age for the benefit, I also think I have heard agreement from all of us that we don't think just because a property owner is 61 plus but not a resident that they can just pass that benefit along to a tenant who is a resident who's under 61. I think we all agree on that.
I agree on that.
Yes. Well, I would also add that if the tenant is 61, they are not entitled to the benefit either, because they are not paying taxes.
Okay,
I think in any case, whether the owner of the building is 61 or over, he can't pass it. And if the tenant is 61 and above, they do not get the benefit. They're not contributing to the tax base of Bolton. Why
as I understand it, though, that would be a change from our current practice because we don't currently require somebody to be a property owner to receive the benefit.
I think we need to look at that.
And I would disagree with Stan on that. I see this as a benefit that we're providing to our older population, independent of whether they're taxpayers or not, because somebody is paying the taxes on that property. I see it as a benefit to residents not tied to their payment of real estate taxes.
Yeah. I agree with you on that, Kate. At this time, I'm not prepared to change the policy to say that you have to be a property owner or taxpayer to qualify above and beyond the 61 plus qualification. But I do agree that 580 Main Street presents some unique issues. And so I think it would be helpful to have eligibility for that parcel treated separately.
There's also a question in my mind, and I don't know if we would need to consult with town council about whether we can just exempt out one single property in town, whether that might somehow be discriminatory or whether we would need to craft it more generally for apartments that provide their own sanitation services so that we're not just targeting one particular property and one particular property owner. And in case there are any more apartments that come online in Bolton at some point.
The only other property too, I'll add to that if I may, is the senior housing would technically fall in the same category because I believe the residents of the senior housing are tenants. Is that correct, Don?
Yes.
But their municipal service, their waste management is dealt with by their landlord, right? They're not coming to the dump.
That's correct. So it could be just to have it, have broader impact in the future. And in case you've missed any, or we've missed anything, it could be, any apartment dweller whose location does not include sanitary services such as trash hauling. Because certainly 580 will, and there may be others that do. So if you put that caveat in there, that could cover other unanticipated things.
That's a really smart idea, Don. I like that. I don't know how to make it a motion though. If anybody has a suggestion.
Well, there's a part of me that's wondering, is this going to be a written policy of the select board? Is that how this gets effectuated?
I don't know, Dawn or Jenny, do you know whether we have a written, I don't think we have a written policy on this right now.
No,
We
you-
don't currently have a written
No.
policy because it's redone each year. So it's just the will of the board for the next fiscal year.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's a practice for the next fiscal year, or policy if you want, but it's not written, so I would refer to it as a practice.
Yeah,
And could I just add very quickly, I'm looking at the list from this prior year. Because as I'm understanding it, would this vote exclude 600 Main Street? Because they have trash hauling on premises?
yes,
Because currently, one resident of 600 Main Street has collected this benefit in this prior year, so you would be excluding someone who's taken advantage of it in the past. I just wanted you to know that.
And why is this individual taking advantage of this benefit? If they have trash, if 600 Main has trash collection, why would this resident be taking advantage of this other than to get trash bags?
I don't have the answer to that.
I
Right,
mean, if they're being gifted to someone else, I think that subverts the policy of giving away bags to seniors who benefit from them. So I would think we would want to discourage that.
yeah.
absolutely.
So, to Kate's point about policy versus practice, I would say I'm personally inclined to leave this in the category of practice to give ourselves the flexibility to adjust it for each fiscal year in case circumstances change. I don't know if the rest of the board is comfortable with just taking a vote on a year-by-year basis.
We have in the past, and that's fine, because also, there may be a point in time where we change the cost of bags and what the benefit is to a senior.
I don't have strong feelings at this point.
Okay. Okay, so then, unless there are any further questions or comments, I think we probably can have a motion and a vote tonight. Does somebody want me to take a stab at what the motion ought to be?
Sure,
Okay.
Go
So
for it.
I would entertain a motion to renew the transfer station bag benefit of $100 worth of bags per year to residents of Bolton who turn 61 plus during the fiscal year, excluding residents of properties within town that have waste removal services provided by the property owner of their residential complex. With the further clarification that seasonal residents must complete a local census form to demonstrate their age eligibility for the benefit. And with the further clarification that property owners who lease their homes to tenants who do not qualify on the basis of age cannot get bags for those tenants. The property owners that are residents can get the bags, but they can't just get the bags to pass them along to tenants who are not age 61 plus.
I would second that.
I'm sorry, can I add one more question / clarification?
Yeah,
If a seasonal resident does complete a census, is the benefit proportional to the months that they're living in Bolton, or do they get the full allotment?
Say it should be proportional.
I agree, it should be proportional.
how difficult would that be to administer, Jenny?
I'm pretty good at math. I could take that one. I would ask for flexibility to round up whenever necessary.
Okay, so then with the further clarification that for seasonal part-time residents, their allocation be prorated based on how long they are residents of Bolton during the course of the year. So with all that, second, okay. So roll call. By the way, I told Dawn and Jenny ahead of time that my brain was fried. And then of course they're like, let's have the world's most complicated discussion about trash bags. All right, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda, we will review and approve the cable contract as recommended by the Cable Advisory Committee. I saw we have Ken Troop and Nikki McGackey from Bolton Access. Ken, want to walk us through this?
Well, this is a contract that goes for 10 years. There's very little change from the last 10 years. But the main thing that the contract does is to provide the mechanism for funding for Bolton Access TV. There are limitations at the state level for the amount of money that, or the percentage that they can have for charges, and we're at that maximum now. But basically what this does is to just go over the cable contract that Comcast has with the town. And the key and thing that's different, and the thing that's important to us is section 6, where it has a discussion of us as the PEG provider, and then has the funding, and they basically have given us what we asked for. In the funding, you're eligible for 5% of the fees, and we previously had 4.5%, with half of it in a different way, and now we have the full 5% that would be used for operations. And then we worked out with them a scenario that is based on the number of subscribers, and there's a particular percent that they would use to calculate the quarterly capital money that we would receive. They used to negotiate a set amount, but this time it's at a percentage, and the way it works out right now, based on our current subscriber base, is that it's a slight increase over what we had before, so that's a good thing. And we're satisfied with what's there, and would recommend your approval, but would be happy to answer any questions about the contract or about how it affects Bolton Access and so forth.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board?
And in the past, has the capital money, the capital funding been greater than 12.8, or
No, it's been 12.
it's been 12? Okay, so
Right.
we got a little bit more, but that it's steady for the 10 years.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And of course, the thing that none of us has, including Comcast, has any control over is subscribers. And we all know that people are cutting the cord, and so that the subscriber base is likely to go down over time. But there's nothing that anybody could really do about that.
Yep.
Right now. And so, until it declines to the point that we can't cover the cost, then we've got to talk about how we continue to survive. But otherwise, it essentially is what it is, and we'll do our best to work within the funding that's provided from the subscribers.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
And I believe the document is, as it's written, is for Don to sign. It's kind of a going away present.
I appreciate that.
Well, thank you for all your work on that, Ken. I would entertain a motion to approve the contract.
I will make a motion to approve the cable contract with Comcast as recommended by the Cable Advisory Committee And further to delegate Don Lowe to be our signatory.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
yes.
I'm a yes as well. Thanks again, Ken.
Thank you.
Very much, Ken. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Okay. And now, the much heralded town administrator report.
Oh, no. Oh, no, we have to, we have to talk cannabis first before you get to me.
Oh, I have that embedded within the town administrator report agenda item.
I think you're all gonna need a little cannabis before you hear from me, so.
Brian, I think perhaps you're looking at the older draft of the agenda.
Oh,
Let me
yeah,
share the agenda for a moment.
great,
One
thanks.
sec.
Yeah, I'm looking at the packet, I'm sorry.
But my packet has it as item number 2.
Item number 2 of the town administrator report?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, yes, we have the HCA agreement, but before that, we have the signage for the, for 476 Main Street, which is
Yeah,
the,
we had an item come in quite late and
Oh.
it was after the packet was sent. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
she's wily, Brian.
So I see the signs in my packet, but I don't see it on the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, okay, so just to clarify, I just pulled up the agenda on the website, which does have item number 6. Review and approve sign request for signage at 476 Main Street for signs less than 36 square feet. And then there's the 2 bullets for temporary window signage while waiting for licensing, and then permanent signage designed for 13 individual signs. That's what you're referring to, right, Dawn and Jenny?
Yes,
yes, it is.
It's not in the packet I have.
Okay.
All
I did,
right.
Yeah, the agenda I sent to the 3 of you separate of the packet.
I'm assuming screen sharing will be in order.
Sure. Let me open the packet then.
and I do see Mr. Spengler is here.
Oops, let me move that.
Good evening.
There we go.
Okay. So, Mr. Spengler, do you want to walk us through this request?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
And just introduce yourself and remind folks about this project.
Sure. So my name is Mike Spangler. I'm the CEO and co-founder of United Cultivation. We are working through the licensing process for a retail cannabis dispensary at 476 Main Street. We are on the agenda next week with the Cannabis Control Commission for our post-provisional license inspection. So a lot of feverish activity happening at the site as of late. This request is for signage in the building. If you remember, or for those of you who aren't aware, we took 2 of the bottom units on the right side of the building and combined them into one. And the signage request is originally we were thinking we were going to try to get the front 3 signs, but we've made a decision to just focus on the 2 that actually are above our units so that we don't confuse anybody. And just as a point of reference, today the windows all got frosted because part of the Cannabis Control Commission regulations is that nobody can see into the space. So with the frosting, it's just an opaque frosting that's on the glass. It's, truth be told, a bit boring. So we're hoping that in addition to 2 sign replacements of previous signs underneath the gooseneck lights, that we would be able to put some graphics in the windows. Some towns treat sign window treatments as not as signage, but Bolton does treat it as signage. So you'll see in the pictures kind of a mock-up of what we intend that to look like. The coloring we're using is part of our brand color palette. In some of our other dispensaries, we actually go a little bit more on the orange side, but given the building, the color scheme, the town, we thought this would be the most appropriate color scheme to use on this property, in keeping with our brand identity. So.
Okay. Jenny, can you just scroll up again to like, is this the
Oh my
fir-
gosh. Sorry, the wind outside is frightening. What did you say?
Sorry, is this the first set of photos that we have here? There's nothing above that.
Oh yeah, so just if I can add, one of the things while we're waiting for licensing is we were hoping that we could put a temporary sign to look at as this design, just to notify people. There's obviously a lot of traffic that is coming into the country cupboard. Traffic increases during the summer months considerably as well. So we're trying to get a little bit of an awareness out prior to opening. And one of the reasons we want to do that, we have a good example recently. We opened our Groton dispensary in October of last year, and we've experimented with signage really for the past 6 months. And we recognized that people weren't aware that we were there. We've recently improved our signage there, and we've seen a dramatic increase in customer traffic. So the thought here would be if we were allowed to put a temporary sign in the window, just notifying people what's happening. And then as we get closer to licensing and put our actual branding up, we would swap that sign out. And these are going to be the window signs, just so you know, those are going to be external semi permeable like vinyl wraps. So you won't be able to see in, but we can see out through them. But obviously now that the windows are frosted, that doesn't really do anything for us, but they would sit on the exterior.
Okay. Questions or comments from the rest of the board?
Is the current tenant that is on one part of the second floor still there, or are they vacating?
No, they are still there. So that dog watch system, they're still there. They're going to retain. It's not on the second photo because we actually took, we used Photoshop to take it out, and we were doing some sign planage. But if you look on the third picture, the dog watch sign is going to remain. And then there was 2 signs, Bright Clean is one, and then there was another above. I forget what the business was on the right side. So those are the 2 signs we'd be replacing.
All right, so dog watch will continue to be basically above the center door.
Yep. So the reason we chose to put graphics on the door, the 2 doors, the right door, by the way, is our entry door. The left door is our exit door, just so we could kind of delineate what doors were ours, so we didn't have confusion with customers trying to figure out where to go. And that center door will remain as is, just the way it sits today.
Right. How does the owner of the building feel about all this signage?
We spoke with Jane. She has seen it. So one of the questions that she had, she wasn't sure if there was a limitation on how many signs could be on a building in town. I reviewed the bylaw. I didn't see any restriction. She was just a little bit, she wasn't concerned. She just wanted me to make sure, like with the Dunkin' Donuts and Subway signs, if they were reaching some maximum signage allowed on a property. So she just wasn't sure. But other than that, she's fine with the graphics in the signage.
I see that Jenny Jacobson put in the chat a copy of some of the comments from our building inspector, Mike Savageau, with respect to this question. Okay, other questions from the board about this?
I thought they were tasteful. I don't think they're ostentatious. I think they look nice on the building. I don't have an issue with them.
I mean, I would agree with that, but it just seems a bit excessive. Now, once you have some temporary signs coming soon, cannabis dispensary, those are gonna go away, correct?
Yes,
And
those will be replaced with the next image.
but there'll be no signs in the second floor windows.
So we do not have control over the second floor windows, so that wouldn't, that picture on the first slide is actually the main floor. It's not the second floor.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's just, it's trimmed out.
gotcha. I understand. And the sign on the side of the building meets the dimensional requirements?
Yeah, it's
does.
6.5 feet across, so it should be with under.
Okay,
And we're looking, just so you know, to get approval for that one on the side of the building. We're still trying to determine whether or not we actually put that sign up. But they recently cleared, if you can see there, they had cleared a tree that was dying that was in front of there, so it opened up that entire facade of the building.
mhm,
So
okay.
Okay. I have no issues with this. I appreciate you walking us through it. Okay, so first, let's do a motion on the temporary window signage. So is there a motion to approve the proposed temporary window signage while they await licensing?
I make a motion to approve the temporary signage as displayed.
Second,
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Stan,
Yes,
Kate,
yes,
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, and then is there a motion to approve the permanent signage design for 13 individual signs, two 2-foot by 12-foot signs above the door, 8 72-inch by 43.5-inch window pane signs, 2 door signs, and 1 I guess it's 6.5
That should be foot.
foot round sign on the side of the building, 33.2 square feet.
so moved.
second,
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Stan,
Yes,
Kate,
yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Thank you, Mr. Spengler.
all right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep,
Don, I'm going to stay on for this next part of the conversation, I'm assuming as well.
yes. Okay, so now, next up on our agenda, now we turn to the town administrator report. So, Don Lowe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, and I believe you've had all the information on this, the request for ARPA funding for runout claims for the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group in the amount of $4,248.19. Those are the remaining claims that need to be funded as part of the Minuteman Neshoba Health Group's demise. As you know from previous meetings, that's our share of what remains to be paid out, and Krista Noel, our town treasurer, has requested that that this amount be appropriated from ARPA funds to cover our obligation.
Okay. Makes
And
sense to me.
And I did send out the updated profile of the ARPA funds, so you should all have it. I emailed it earlier today.
Yeah, I received that.
now, Don, is this gonna be the last check we have to cut?
Yes,
Is there anything that says that this is the last check we're gonna be cutting, and that we're not gonna be cutting anything further?
I've seen nothing in writing from them. I know Kristen has said this is the last expense.
Because what was the last one? That was quite excessive, wasn't it?
It was, it covered quite a period of time, and as it turned out, a small, well, relatively small shortfall resulted. The first one was in excess of $100,000. I don't remember I don't remember the exact amount.
Okay. All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the request for ARPA funding for the runout claims for Minuteman and Neshoba Health Group in the amount of $4,248.19.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Kate,
yes.
Stan,
Yes,
and I'm yes as well.
Great, thank you. And then next under my report is the discussion about the HCH. As I've gone on at length in the past, and I'm sure Kate knows as well, because I know you keep current on these things. Things have changed, both from the legislative side and from the Cannabis Control Commission regarding their regulations about HCA's and what's appropriate and what is not. There is no question that under the new rules and regulations, our current HCA with Mr. Spengler's company would be considered invalid by the CCC. So we have two options. We could implement a new HCA, and you see the template in the packet, or you could consider a waiver, and the waiver form has been provided. I've checked with council. I believe I shared council's thoughts with you. Given where Mr. Spengler is in the process, it would be my recommendation that the board entertain signing the waiver rather than going to another HCA. HCA's have become less and less necessary. Most of the teeth have been taken out of it. We're certainly not concerned about Mr. Spengler pursuing the project, given where he is in the process, and there's no community impact fees that we would be eligible for, and we're still entitled and will receive the 3% sales tax from his gross sales. So that being said, it would seem for this particular case that the waiver would be most appropriate.
Okay, comments or questions from the rest of the board?
I'm fine with doing the waiver.
Yeah, I'm also fine. I think at this point, doing an HCA creates more potential liability for the town if we do it wrong.
I agree.
And just wanted to clarify, Don, it's that 3-page waiver document, right? It's that relatively short document that was included in our packet.
Yes, it's quite brief. Yes, some to be filled out by the applicant and some to be filled out by the town. Yes, looking at the licensee section and the host community section, it is, very straightforward.
Okay,
And you could, unless I'm mistaken, I believe you can designate me as the authorized signatory.
okay, yeah, that's what I was gonna ask, is for that part 3 signature of the host community's authorized representative, we could authorize you to be that person.
Yes, because I'm attesting to the fact that I've been authorized to sign it.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to approve a host community agreement waiver form with authorization to our town administrator, Dawn Lowe, to be the authorized representative to sign that waiver agreement?
Yes, I'll make that motion. So moved, but with United Cultivation LLC.
Second,
Okay, great.
Can I make one small change?
Yes,
Would you like to make that the town administrator and not Don Lowe by name? Just because Don and I will not be working another day together, sadly. And just in case this doesn't get done, I'd want Marie to be able to be authorized to sign it as well.
Yes, so we'll amend that so that it's for the town administrator as the authorized representative of the host community.
So moved again.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Kate,
yes.
Stan,
Yes.
I'm a yes as well.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And before I wrap for the last time, I just want to say thank you to this board. Thank you to all the boards who preceded you. It's been a joy 99.9% of the time to be here. And I appreciate everything that each of you have done and said to me. And I really appreciated the fact that all three of you made the effort to attend the festivities Tuesday night.
Of course. Thank you, Don.
That's our pleasure, Don.
Thank you.
I'm not sure about your math, though.
1, 2, 3.
I don't think it was 99.9% of the time.
I knew what you were saying. I was trying to dodge it.
Oh, come on, with me, it's been 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we need to move the decimal point over a little bit.
I could be gracious on the way out.
Well, with that, actually, in terms of our select board business, the first item is public service announcements, and I did just want to say once again, thank you so much to Don Lowe for his service as our town administrator. I think most of the residents in Bolton have had a chance to see how dedicated you are, but I think as members of the select board, we probably see an even deeper level than is obvious to most members of the public, just truly how committed you've been to this town, 24/7, literally. I've only been on the select board for just over a year, but we get updates on the weekends when important things happen. We get updates late at night if something crucial happens, because Don really never rests when it comes to this job. So thank you again, and we will miss you.
Thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. I mean, I saw you come in, I'm seeing you go out. You've been great every single day for the past 15 plus years.
Thank you. Oh, the dog agrees too.
Couldn't have timed that any better.
That was great. Good
Um,
boy.
All
I
right,
told you I might chime in.
next up, future agenda items discussion. Anything from either Stan or Kate to add to a future agenda?
Not tonight.
Nope, good.
Nothing from me either. Okay, reappointments for FY20. I think is that supposed to be FY25, Jenny?
Yes, that's a typo.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And I confess, can you direct me to which page we have all of this? I saw the one related to the new appointment for the Historical Commission, but where's the reappointments listed?
Let me see. It
Yeah,
was a Excel spreadsheet. You know what? Excel, sometimes I have trouble getting it into PDF. I wonder if it got ejected. Let me open it up for you.
Okay, yeah, because I wasn't seeing it, so I didn't know if you were going to go over it with us tonight.
And I'm happy to. Hang on one second. You can ignore the yellow. The yellow was directed from the town clerk's office to me for items that she wanted me to confirm. So the column on the right tells us where the status is. There's a few people we haven't heard back from. But for the most part, most of them have been confirmed.
Okay, so then just procedurally, we would be voting to approve reappointment of the folks that are listed as confirmed in this Excel spreadsheet.
The way that the board handled it last year was you voted on all of the appointments contingent upon the appointees confirming their interest in the appointment.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board before I try to implement that suggestion?
Nope.
This is the first time I'm seeing it, so I guess I'm, sorry, I'm gonna mute for a second.
Jenny, can you screen, or if you have, I'm not seeing it that way.
I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Can you make this full screen? Because I'm not seeing it that way and I can't do it on my own on this end.
Not seeing it as full screen.
Full screen.
Yeah,
I-
can you enlarge it somehow, Jenny? It's difficult to read.
Is that better? Is it not? I don't know what you're seeing.
I'm not saying full screen. I'm trying to do it myself, but I did it myself. There you go. There you go. There you go. I'm all set.
Kate, are you able to see all of that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yep.
These are a lot of familiar names. I'm comfortable with this. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the reappointments? Subject to the named individual confirming that they accept the reappointment.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Kate,
yes.
Stan,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Okay.
Next up, we have at the request of the Historical Commission, the appointment of Matthew Patton to the Historical Commission for a 2-year term. There was information in our packet concerning that. I have no questions. Do any other members of the board have questions?
Only question I have is was this position advertised?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's the 2 remaining years of a 3-year term.
Okay.
I wasn't sure how to put that on there.
Okay. Who departed from historical?
No, no one.
Oh, okay. It was
Yeah.
just a vacant.
It was a seat. This fills the last open seat.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kate, anything from you?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Bob, by the way. Hi, how are you?
My video is so terrible. I'm leaving it off.
No problem. Thanks for being here, and thank you for bringing Mr. Patton to our attention. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the appointment of Matthew Patton to the Historical Commission for the 2 remaining years of a 3-year term.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
yes.
I'm a yes as well. Okay, and now I think I will turn it over to Kate Bayuk for the next 2 items, which are a policies review discussion and a code of conduct policy discussion.
Thank you. So I had mentioned last time that I was just looking at the town website and came across the policies section and started perusing it. So I think everybody has the memo I prepared where I just kind of laid out what all of the policies are and the date they were adopted. And then I also compiled all of the policies into a PDF so you could look at them in one place. And I guess it just would make sense. I mean, some of these are, quite old policies from the early 2000s. Some of them are much more recent and I don't think really require much review, but I think it would make sense to talk about a way to go about reviewing everything, making sure it's up to date, making sure it's a policy we need, making sure it complies with current law. Checking with relevant departments to see if it's a policy that they think makes sense or if there are updates that they might like to see to it. And I just thought we could talk about possible ways to go about doing a kind of a top-down review of our policies.
Well, I appreciate the memo that you sent and this idea in general. I think one thought that I had was that, well, two thoughts. One is that I saw the idea about potentially forming a committee to look at this. I personally would not be in favor of that simply because I think ultimately the responsibility for formulating and approving these policies does rest with the select board. But I also thought that it may make sense to enlist our incoming town administrator and have part of her goal for the year to be to help come up with a plan and a calendar for review of all these policies. I think having her do some of the initial pass through with some recommendations would be a helpful step. So I don't know what other folks think about that.
I would agree with you, Brian. I don't think we should farm this out to a committee, given that we are ultimately responsible for doing that. I like your suggestion. I would suggest that, Kate put dates on when these policies were, enacted. And maybe we start with the oldest ones first and move up the food chain. And perhaps we do have our new town administrator, take a first crack. But yeah, I could see each of us taking a policy and doing a little bit of legwork and coming back, with a goal of getting some number of these done within, a 3, 6, 9 month period. But I think it would be certainly helpful for Marie to get up to speed on that as well. And I also think what we should also do is come up with perhaps a style guide. The policies as displayed were kind of all over the map in terms of a black and white town seal, a color seal, no seal. Some had dates, some didn't have dates. And maybe as we revise this, we come up with a bit of consistency in how these things look as well.
So that all makes sense to me, and it might be a good way for Marie to, talk with some of the department heads about the policies that, impact their specific departments. So.
Okay, that sounds great. So maybe as a suggested next step, and feel free to push back, Kate, if you don't want to do this, but maybe after Marie arrives, you can just find some time to fill her in on this discussion and let her know that it would be great if she could help put together just a timeline of like what's the review tranche and approach, and kind of let her take the first pass at laying out a process for us. But I think we're all in agreement about the overall desirability of making sure we all actually do review and don't farm it out to a committee.
Yep, no, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
All right, so that's one down. The second item was a proposed code of conduct policy. I included in the packet the Mass Municipal Association Policy Committee on Personnel and Labor Relations Best Practice Recommendation on Conduct and Civility of Public Officials. It's something that the MMA has put out in terms of really just setting clear expectations for how not just we as select board members, but how all town board members treat one another, treat town employees, treat the public, with the goals of us setting the tone for the town of civility and respect and dignity when we're interacting with the public. Most of our neighbor towns have adopted a code of policy, a code of conduct policy over the last several years. And I gave you links, I think, to Stowe and Harvard and Lancaster. And they're all relatively similar. There are minor differences in each of them, but again, and maybe this is also something for Marie to take a look at, especially since Harvard has one of the policies, and I imagine she'd be, would have been involved with their adoption because they just adopted it within the last couple of years. But I think that's valuable so that the public can look and see the, how we're operating, what our expectations are of ourselves, and other officials within the town.
No, I think that's great, and I agree with you, Kate. I mean, the fact that Harvard enacted their policy in 2022, and I'm sure she was involved with that to some degree, and what the line of thinking was, I think that'll be very helpful in terms of figuring out what we might include or not include in ours.
Yep, totally agree.
So would you like me to speak with Marie about that as well?
Yes.
Yep. But I also think we need to include conduct of the public when they're in front of a board as well.
I agree that we should do that, but we also have to be careful because of the SJC decision last year about how the public is entitled to behave. We can set expectations and recommendations, but we will need to be careful and probably run anything past town council on that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you again for doing that, Kate. So then I think next up, we were going to potentially resume discussion of the draft policy related to the use of the Lois Alex meeting room at the Houghton building. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the first draft of this policy was put together by Jenny Jacobson. Is that right, Jenny?
That's correct.
And in the draft I see, it looks like there's still a question about maximum seating capacity that can be included at some other date. I've had an opportunity to review this. I don't know whether folks on the board want to discuss and vote on this now, or whether we want to sort of roll it into the process for all the other policies. And whether there's urgency, Jenny, from your perspective, just because you're dealing with these requests.
I don't think there's a great deal of urgency. I'd be comfortable with it being moved to the next meeting when Marie can be involved. And I'm not just saying that because it's 8:30.
With an approaching thunderstorm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it looks fine the way it is, but if you want to wait, that's fine. And that doesn't mean we can't revise the policy later. But I think part of it is that we have had some issues with available meeting space at the library in their room, and just to have some guidelines.
Okay, well, how about this? Kate, sorry, were you going to say something?
I just wanted to reiterate my concern. I don't have an issue with needing to put something in place now, but a longer term goal of trying to figure out how to make this room perhaps more available for the community in general. Right now it's a very limited policy in terms of town departments, town boards, committees, that sort of thing. And I would like to try and have a goal of making this space more accessible because there are so few meeting places in Bolton for the general public. But I understand why we can't do it at the moment for security reasons.
Right. Well, it's security. We have Bolton Access Television upstairs, and many times there's no one there in the evenings, and that is part of the issue. So if we have some more town presence there, then that would be possible. But we can certainly look at that.
Okay, then I have a request for Jenny. For our July 11th meeting, would it be possible to get a version of this with the seating capacity added? And then I noticed like maybe one or two just small typos. I can email you about those, but just a scrubbed version of this for.
Yes, I could do you one better. I just shared the certificate of inspection. The reason I left it blank is because there are 3 different capacities. I think I had sent this to the 3 of you a while ago. the room holds 85 standing room only, but obviously there is a boardroom table and chairs in the room. So I think in order to fill in that blank, we'd need to come up with the number that the board is comfortable with based on the certificate of inspection.
Quite honestly, I would say we keep it to the minimum number. I can't ever see 85 people needing to use that room.
Want to be there if they do.
Yeah.
I would agree that it should be the minimum number, the lower number.
Okay,
And you don't need to adhere to these numbers. These are the maximum based on the building code. So if there's a number that the board feels more comfortable with as appropriate in that space, particularly since it is an unstaffed building and the DPW would need to take away the trash from anyone using the building. It's really up to your discretion.
Mhm.
okay, well, why don't we use either 65 or 66? Doesn't matter to me. 66?
Works for me.
Works for me.
Okay. So sorry, Jenny, were you saying you brought that up because you'd like us to just vote and approve it tonight?
Well, if you seem to be leaning in that direction, so I just thought we'd get that piece discussed.
Sure. Okay, then I think the word responsible in paragraph 6 needs to be corrected. Other than that, I have no other edits. Okay, so then why don't we just approve it then with the maximum seating capacity of 66? Is there a motion to approve the draft Houghton Building Lois Alex meeting room policy?
I'll make a motion to approve the Houghton Building Meeting Room Policy with the typographical change that Mr. Boyle is requesting and with a maximum of 66 individuals occupying that room.
Second.
Okay, great. All in favor, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, next up, the execute the lease between the Bolton Conservation Trust and the town of Bolton. This is something we do annually, is that correct?
Yep.
Yes, that is correct.
Any
And we did receive the lease payment earlier this week.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Nope.
I assume this is the same standard form that we use from year to year.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's the same amount of money we charge each year.
Okay. All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Bolton and the Bolton Conservation Trust.
Make a motion that we execute the lease between the Bolton Conservation Trust and the town of Bolton.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. Okay, then it's approval of bills, payroll warrants, W24-24 and W4-24A. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Stan,
Yes.
Kate,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. I believe we're going to defer discussion on any minutes for this particular meeting. So unless there's anything else, I think we can have a motion to adjourn.
Just one
Oh.
item, while the three of you are here,
Mhm.
Don was hoping that we would get your availability for a law committee meeting on July 11th at 6 p.m.
Works for me.
Works for me.
I can do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and then with that, we can have a motion to adjourn, right?
But before that, you can thank me for the rain tonight because I waxed my truck today. So
Thank you, Stan.
you're welcome.
My plants are grateful as long as it's not too strong of a rain.
Two.
All right, is there?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, all in favor, roll call. Kate,
yes.
Stan,
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. Thank you again, Dawn. Congratulations.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, Dawn.
Thanks, Jenny.
The
Thank you.
time for the record is 8:35 PM. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.